his luxury car when he saw her, sitting on the pavement with a plastic bowl in her lap. One glance and his entire world stopped. Because the woman begging on the street once raised him like her own. Kapoor had just sealed a $1 billion deal and was headed to a celebration at a 5-star hotel. Dressed in a tailored suit, phone buzzing with congratulations. He had everything most people only dreamed of. He had other plans that evening. Pulled up at light near an old market. Armaan's eyes caught something in the corner of the street. A woman, elderly and frail, wrapped in a thin shawl, sat quietly with her head down, begging for coins that barely dropped into her bowl. About her made his chest tighten. He leaned forward, squinting through the tinted glass, and then he saw her face, wrinkled, sun-worn, but unmistakable. "Nanny," he whispered, voice breaking before his driver could react. Armaan opened the car door and rushed out into the street, ignoring the honking and the flashing cameras. He dropped to his knees beside her. Her eyes met his, and for a moment confusion flickered. Then came recognition. "Chota," she said, her voice trembling. "My Chotu?" Armaan's throat tightened. "What happened to you?" Tears filled her eyes. "Life happened. After your family moved abroad. There was none left. I lost my job. The landlord took the house. I tried so hard." The street noise faded. The cameras stopped clicking. For the first time in years, the man who built an empire felt like again. And in front of everyone, he did something new and unexpected. He wrapped his arms around her. And wept. Armaan sat there on the pavement, holding her tightly as people around them stopped, stunned. Some took photos, some whispered, but none dared interrupt. Because this wasn't just a reunion. It was heartbreak wrapped in love. "I looked for you," he whispered, still shaking. "When I came back to India, I tried asking around. No one knew where you went." She smiled weakly. "That's because people forget to help once they rise. I didn't blame anyone. I just hoped you were doing well, and look at you." Armaan pulled off his suit jacket and gently wrapped it around her shoulders. "You should never have ended up like this," he said. Pain clear in every word. "You raised me. You were there when my parents were too busy. You told me bedtime stories, fed me with your own hands. You were my sunshine," she whispered, her eyes full of tears. "I had no children of my own, but I had you." A nearby vendor came over, offering a bottle of water. Armaan nodded gratefully, opening it and helping her drink. Then he stood up and turned to his driver. "We're going home," he said firmly, "and she's coming with me. But sir, the hotel canceled it. Tell them I have someone far more important to take care of tonight." He turned back to her. "Hey, you'll never beg again. You'll never sleep on cold streets or wonder where your next meal is coming from." She looked up at him, shaking her head. "I don't want pity, Beta." "This isn't pity," he said, helping her stand. "This is repaying love with love. You gave me everything when you had nothing. Now, let me do the same." And as he gently guided her into the back seat of his luxury car, placing her hand in his like a child holding on to home, some in the world felt right again. Because this wasn't just a moment of generosity. It was a boy finally bringing his mother back home. The car ride was quiet at first, filled with emotions too big for words. Armaan sat beside her, watching the city lights pass by while she held his jacket close like it was a memory she never wanted to lose. "It's over. Do you how you used to sneak me lattice before dinner?" She smiled faintly. "And how your mother would scold me every time she found out." They both laughed, tears still lingering in the corners of their eyes. As they pulled into the gates of his mansion, the staff stood confused. But when they saw Armaan helping the frail woman out with both hands, their expressions shifted from confusion to quiet awe. Turned to his house manager. "Prepare the guest room on the top floor and call the doctor." Now the manager nodded without question. That night, Armaan sat beside her bed as the doctor examined her. malnutrition, weak bones. Nothing that couldn't be healed with time, care, and warmth. She's going to be okay, the doctor said. She just needs rest, food, and love. She'll have all three. Armaan replied. I's never leaving her. Later he brought her a tray of warm soup himself. She tried to eat up but winced. Let me, he said, taking the spoon gently. You shouldn't be doing this, she whispered. I should have done it years ago, he said. She stared at him overwhelmed. Why are you doing all this, Armaan? He looked at her, and his voice dropped to a whisper. Because you were the only one who never left me. You raised me with your hands. Now let me hold you with mine. She covered her mouth trying to hold back her tears. But they came anyway. And he didn't stop her. He sat there the entire night holding her hand as she slept. Because sometimes the most powerful thing a rich man can do is remember the woman who loved him before he had anything to offer. Weeks passed. And everything changed. Not just in Armaan's mansion but in his heart. He set up a care team for her. Ensured she had every comfort she'd ever been denied. But more than that, he gave her presents. He ate dinner with her every night. He made her laugh again. And when she told him stories from the old days, he sat like a child, listening, soaking in every memory he thought he'd lost. The media caught on, of course. Billionaire reunites with childhood nanny, brings her home from the streets. The store went viral. People praised him. But Armaan didn't care about the praise. One evening, as the sun poured gold through the windows, he sat beside her on the garden bench, helping her sip chai. I want to do something, he said quietly. In your name. She tilted her head. What kind of something? A shelter. For women who were forgotten. Just like you were. With warm food, beds, books, laughter. She stared at him, eyes wet again. Armaan, he gently placed her hand over his. I'm going to name it Amma because that's what I used to call you when I couldn't pronounce Nanny. She laughed, wiping a tear with her shawl. You still remember that? I remember everything, he said softly. And I want the world to remember you too. The shelter opened 3 months later, with her in the front row, seated like a queen, as Armaan gave his beside her. He ended it by saying, I built companies with strategy. But I built myself with her love. The crowd stood. And a mass smiled the way only someone who gave love without asking for anything, finally receiving it in return, can smile. Because sometimes true wealth isn't counted in money. It's in never forgetting the hands that once held you when you had nothing.